we are dangerously close. Dangerously inching further closer to a nuclear apocalyptic situation. And I know that sounds like a hyperbole and sounds like Armageddon, sounds like something you would see, in the big Hollywood blockbusters where big storylines, Woody Harrelson would be out to save you. Yes, I'm using a Zombieland reference, but anyway, sadly, and I say this full-heartedly, sadly, it's actually becoming a reality, and it's disturbing. It is downright disturbing, and I really wish this was a nightmare. I wish I could wake up from this, but when you see, President Joe Biden making addresses about Armageddon, and this is going to be the most, outrageous time of history since, the Cuban Missile Crisis, how, we're going to live into an annihilation period, how we're going to have to survive this apocalyptic situation. These are not jokes. Like, I wish this was a joke. I wish I could just wake up and, realize I'm in a nightmare situation and wake up from it, but it's not. And it's even more disturbing when I see something like this. So, Zelensky, also known as the man who dresses like he's a patron at Chili's. I mean, come on. You gotta love a man who wears a t-shirt. He's a family man. Come on. Even if it has a swastika and Nazi, symbolism all over it, and he's a nefarious creep. But anyway, this is the dark, disturbing part of it, where Zelensky is making a statement for making it closer to World War III. And we've shown you the speeches of Vladimir Putin. We've shown you the speeches of what Russia's stating and how, we're causing this mayhem for ourselves, which if you look at the facts, you look at the figures, you look at the historical context, we were getting prepared for this. We were the ones that are aggressively orchestrating to this point. And now Zelensky is trying to make it even further. And this is downright, inhumane, despicable. I don't know what else I could really say about this, but just take a listen to this. So, actually, let me turn this down, and then I'll read the subtitles for you for people that are listening to this on audio. So it says, what should Russia do? Eliminate the possibility of Russia using nuclear weapons.
Застосування Росією ядерної зброї.
But what is important, I once again appeal to the international community as I did before February 24th. We need preemptive strikes so that we'll know what will happen to them if they use nukes, and not the other way around. Don't wait for Russia's nuclear strikes and then say, oh, since you did this, take that from us. Reconsider the way you apply pressure. This is what NATO should do. Reconsider the order in which it applies pressure on Russia. So, this psychopathic response to the possibility of nuclear war is we need to do a pre-nuclear war to avoid going to nuclear war. This is the psychopathic mindset of these individuals. These are the narcissistic insanity that goes through people's minds, that in order to stop a nuclear war from A country, B country has to do another nuclear war to prevent the other one. Like, in order to stop Russia from nuking us, we have to go and attack even further, escalating this war even further to the point of nuclear annihilation. And he's saying this to the international community. He's saying this to Joe Biden. He's saying this to the European Union. He's saying this to Canada. He's saying to every NATO-aligned country that you have to consider going further into nuclear war to stop the possibility of nuclear war with Russia. Anyone with half a brain cell should know that that is dangerous. That is the most evil, nefarious, bullshitted answer and response you can make. That in order to stop an imaginary boogeyman that we've orchestrated and created throughout history, we have to go further into the annihilation of all the human race to stop the possibility of Russia using nukes. I cannot believe this. I really cannot believe this. And sadly, the only people I'm hearing respond to this and trying to de-escalate the situation is, you know, people like Tulsi Gabbard that go on Tucker Carlson, Claire Daly, who's at the European Union right now, who's kicking ass, people like Jimmy Dore, people like Jackson Hinkle, and very few individuals, like even Breaking Points now has gone to the point of war. Breaking Points. I used to admire, you know, Crystal and Sagar and used to look up to them. Now it's just a joke. Now it's just it looks like a cheap shot of a MSNBC talk show now. Now they're talking about we got to further escalate the tension against Russia. We need to further escalate going to war with China. Instead of trying to de-escalate and trying to find diplomacy and get peace to one another, because we're already fucked as it is. We're already dealing with crisis after crisis after crisis after crisis. Why the hell do we want to escalate something like this to the point that we have no return? Why don't we actually solve some problems instead of creating more on top? But he's a family man. He can't be nefarious. He's a Jewish comedian. God. Unless he's doing an audition for some drama series on TNT. I am really just not. I am not at all having any respect for this guy. Unless this is some sort of joke by The Onion and someone comes out and says, gotcha. This should never be addressed. This should never have been mentioned. That in order, because the possibility, not even for sure, but just because people are so paranoid about Russia, and we've been Russia-gated for the last how many goddamn years, because people are so fucking paranoid about it, that in order to stop the nefarious, evil Russia that we've been paranoid to believe, we have to do nuclear war. And considering Joe Biden's already committed to it, Zelensky is saying about this, the European Union is probably going to be on board about this. Because NATO's going to pressure all these countries, including here in Canada, and we're supposed to be the peacekeepers. They're going to pressure our nations to go forward anyway, unless NATO wants to attack us. That's what an evil, barbaric, terrorist organization would do. That they're going to pressure countries to go into nuclear war. It's goddamn insane. And here's also another reason for just the fact of why I'm getting shooked up about this. So, this recently came out in the Children's Health Defense, also known as the Defender. And it says U.S. stockpiles $290 million worth of NIH-funded radiation sickness drugs. Now, why would that be? Why would that be all of a sudden a coincidence? That we're going to stockpile a bunch of radiation poisoning drugs. Or sorry, a sickness drug to treat people from radiation. And this is from October 7th, so this is recently. It says the Biden administration this week purchased $290 million worth of Nplate, a radiation sickness drug with serious side effects developed by drug maker Amgen in partnership with several government agencies, including the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, headed by Dr. Anthony Fauci. And of course, if it's led by Fauci, you're not going to hear about those side effects. Even though they're serious. They just told you it's serious side effects. You won't hear about it, though. if Fauci's leading the board on this. So it says, in what pharmaceutical industry publication Fierce Pharma called a troubling sign of the times, the Biden administration this week purchased $290 million in anti-radiation drugs. In an October 4th press release, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Strategic Preparedness and Response announced the purchase of Nplate, a drug used to treat acute radiation syndrome. ASPR, the federal agency tasked with preparing for disasters and public health emergencies, said the purchase was made as part of a long-standing ongoing efforts to be better prepared to save lives following radiological and nuclear emergencies. How about we prepare ourselves to de-escalate the situation by thinking of ways of, I don't know, peace, diplomacy, getting the fuck out of these nations, getting the fuck away from the military empire that's causing this havoc, causing this destruction, as the biggest perpetrator of why we're in this disaster in the first place? Why isn't that ongoing? Why isn't that ongoing? Where's the peacemaker? Where's the person to sit down and go, hey guys, why don't you get the fuck away from each other and focus on your own territories? Where's that person? HHS did not clarify why it bolstered the government's Nplate stockpile, other than describing it as a part of our ongoing work for preparedness and radiological security. As Joe Biden's declaring Armageddon, as you just saw Zelensky repeating and demanding NATO countries to align themselves further to nuclear war, the fact that New York City television stations are airing emergency ads for the possibility of a nuclear attack. The possibility of a nuclear attack. Like, I've heard about, the Red Scare and stuff about in the 50s. But it wasn't as serious and as gut-wrenching as it is today. Like, grandparents, your great-grandparents, probably your parents' generation had less severity than what we're dealing with right now. Like, it's just crazy. Officials downplayed any connection to the Russia-Ukraine conflict, adding that the purchase was not accelerated by the situation in Ukraine. Oh God, no. Oh God, no. We just decided to spend, $290 million on pharmaceuticals treating radiation because, for the fun of it. We had a little extra play money in the budget, so we're just going to buy more drugs. However, 2 days after the announcement, amid growing tensions related to the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, President Biden said the risk of nuclear Armageddon is at the highest since the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. But there's no connection, apparently, to the officials that are in charge of these pills. Just like they'll be in charge of just figuring out who exactly is going to live through this situation. The U.S. government in recent months has made several moves signaling a growing level of nuclear preparedness. For instance, in late September, the Intelligence Advanced Research Projects activity launched a new program, Targeted Evaluation of Lonsai Radiation Exposure, which will investigate methods to detect low doses of ionizing radiation. According to the Register, the investigation will work to build a new understanding of these efforts of low-dose radiation, though the use of technologies such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, biomarker discovery, and analytic biography. The Ohio State University, the University of Washington, Arrête Associations, and Signature Science received grants to conduct the research over a 3.5-year period. The research will occur at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, Los Alamos National Laboratory, and the Armed Forces Radiobiology Research Institution. Earlier this summer, New York City authorizes raised eyebrows with the release of a 90-second nuclear preparedness public service announcement. We showed it to you on this channel. We showed it to you. And like I said, I could not believe that we're going down this path. I could not believe. We don't have any PSAs on peace negotiations. We don't have any PSAs on love one another. We don't have any PSAs on humanitarianism, collectiveness, unifying together. But we'll have a PSA on the possibility of human extinction caused by us. We're the ones causing our own disaster. We're the ones causing our own deaths. We're the ones that are going to end humanity because of our own stupidity. Which the New York Times described as bizarre and as well watched. Yeah, I think people would find it bizarre and something to glue their eyes to, when the fact that their television stations, which were probably watching Dr. Phil, automatically go to a nuclear PSA on how to survive radiation attacks. But not well received. Gee, maybe because they're also thinking like me. Maybe because they're also thinking, why are we doing this? What is there no singular person that is moving forward with peace, that wants to stop these wars, that wants to end all this craziness BS? We're the ones that didn't decide to go into Ukraine and cause this chaos. Joe Biden did. The White House did. Our Canadian Parliament did. NATO-aligned countries did. European nations did. Ukraine wanted European nations and NATO-aligned countries to get involved in this. Not ordinary citizens that just work 9 to 5 and just want to live a normal life. We're not the ones that decide to go to war. But now we're going to suffer the most consequence because of their stupidity, because of their narcissism, because of their arrogance, because of their determination of destruction. Because these are nefarious ghouls who have no respect for life whatsoever goddamn ever. Outside the U.S., countries neighboring Ukraine, such as Poland, repeatedly began distributing iodine tablets in response to the threat of nuclear fallout related to the Russia-Ukraine conflict as a result of shelling around the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in Ukraine. But there's no connection, according to the officials. There's no connection. So, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of one of the sadly few people, and I'm sure there's more out there, but I wish there was more. I wish there was a vocal presence of anti-war, pro-peace, anti-imperialism as part of that strain of individuals. Let me just say, we are living in nightmarish times. We are living in a situation that unless we can find a miracle to get this turned around and get this focused on back to humanity, back to civilization, is going to get further and worse and worse. Because Zelensky is not going to pull down. Joe Biden's not going to pull down. Our Canadian Parliament's not going to pull down. European nations aren't going to pull down. NATO is continuing to be even further and further corrupt. The war military-industrial complex have made billions and billions of dollars marketing off this war. And it is causing havoc for the rest of the entire planet and not the leadership that's causing all this war to begin with. And this is more than the time than ever for all the people that were against the Iraq war, for all the people that were against Afghanistan, for all the people that didn't want the invasions of Nicaragua and Venezuela and Latin American countries, for all the people that didn't want to go into Libya and overthrow the democratically elected government, for all the people that stood up against defiance of the military-industrial complex, for all the people that heard Dwight D. Eisenhower's speech in the 50s warning us of this situation. We need to get together and be proudly vocal, because we're going to be dead if we continue letting this happen. They're going to kill us all. because of their own arrogance. And we need to turn this around. We need to do everything that we can to fight the good fight. We need to fight not only for peace in Ukraine and peace for Russian people and peace for the Ukrainians, peace for, the NATO-aligned countries, but we need to save the livelihood of humanity, of all living creatures. Because in the possibility of going into a nuclear attack, we could face a nuclear winter. Which means humanity's going to die no matter what. Even if it's a small nuke or a small dose, radiation, people say, well, it's not that bad. The effects of it is ongoing and gets even worse. And like I said, the only people, sadly, that I hear the most about turning this around is, very few individuals. Tulsi Gabbard, Jimmy Dore, Jackson Hinkle, Kim Iverson, another great personality, Gray Zone, Mint Press News. But even the progressive YouTube sphere that say that they're supposed to be for pro-peace and for people, they're siding along with this. Breaking Point is siding along with this. Kyle Kalinske is siding along with this. Like, it's devastating. Utterly, utterly devastating. And I really don't know what's going to happen next. But we need to unite together in order to save the livelihood of individuals. Because this is just going to get worse from here.